now we're going to go international, but still staying on the political game. We had a massive election in Europe recently, the Spanish election of 2023. This was a very important test for a lot of reasons. This was a snap election. The prime minister chose to have the election at this point because he wanted to consolidate more of his base and get more seats in his party. He thought he was going to win, but was shocking because the current leader, his prime minister, Pedro Sanchez, I knew his name was Sanchez, I didn't know Pedro. So Pedro Sanchez, he is leading the Socialist Party right now. He's the prime minister. During the May local elections, the Socialists got crushed by the Conservative People's Party, the PP, destroyed by conservatives across the country. And so when everyone saw that Sanchez was calling for a general, they were like, why? And it's because he thought that he could consolidate some of the smaller parties into his party and boost the Socialist Party generally.
Okay.
Right? Because right now there's a massive coalition between the Socialists, the Communists, and then a whole bunch of regional parties, especially in Catalonia. So he's thinking, maybe I could unite all those Catalonian small parties into the Socialist Party and we could have a bigger bloc.
Okay.
He's also doing a little bit to get back at the Communist left, hoping to pick off some Communist left seats back into the Socialist Party. And the polls early on show that this was going to be a People's Party blowout. We go back in May, June, like we're talking 33, 35% People's Party, 26% Socialist Party. But there's also a third factor here. There is a relatively new party called the Vox Party. And the Vox Party is an ultra-right, ultra-nationalist party. Think of them as the alternative, think about them like the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland party in Germany. Think about them as the hard right movement in the United States. Think about them as the Le Pen's party. Think about them as the Swedish Democrats in Sweden. Think about them as the party of the current Prime Minister of Italy. And the current Prime Minister of Italy actually voiced her total support for Vox prior to this election. So what's made Vox interesting is they have totally imported the American culture war politics about trans people, about gay people, about the groomer culture. The Vox Party was narrating that all over the country.
Wow.
They totally imported that talking point. So, and during the election, the People's Party was very, very reluctant to say that they would ever make a coalition with Vox. They were very, very nervous. The conservatives were very, very standoffish with the Vox Party because they didn't want to get tied to the most radical elements. The election comes around, and the exit polls say that the conservative bloc is going to get 190 seats. I'm sitting in the library reading for this podcast, and I see this happening. I'm like, damn, can't believe it. I can't believe they really pulled it out. But then the election results started coming in. And they weren't that bad. And then I was waiting for them to get bad. And they never got that bad. And then it stayed not bad. And by the end of it, the Socialists came out with more seats than the Conservatives. And the Socialist bloc had 172 seats by the end. And the Conservative bloc had 170 seats. You need 176 to form a majority in the parliament. So neither party can form a majority except if they don't have juntas parties from the Basque region or Catalonia. These parties are independence movements, movements that want to get the northeastern part of Catalonia out of Spain completely and have it be its own country.
Really?
You have a Basque independence party that wants the Basque region in the north of the country to be its own independent country. Yes, Spain is very, very fractured. So when I say that these little parties exist, these are tiny regional parties that are vying for independence.
Wow.
Yes. And they have enough seats to be the kingmakers. So now this is where everything is getting interesting here. I'm going to read this from a recent political article, the AP article talking about the election. Ready? The chances of Sanchez picking up the support of 176 lawmakers, the absolute majority, is very low. The divided results have made the hardline Catalan separatists, the Junts, together emerge as Sanchez's political kingmaker. If Junts asks for a referendum on independence for Northeast Catalonia, that would likely be far too costly for the price a price for Sanchez to pay. He doesn't want to risk breaking up the country. Naturally, I've read some reports that the Junts have already said that they're not working with anybody, which means that there will be another election in 3 months.
Okay.
To fix this. And there'll be another election until somebody wins majority.
Do you think Spain might dissolve?
I don't think that anyone is going to allow them to. Catalan's been vying for what you guys are going to yell at me. Yeah, you're going to all yell at me how I pronounce it anyway. They've been vying for independence for a while. They've had a long independence streak for the entirety of Spanish existence. Spain united in 1492 under it was like the Kingdom of Aragon and the Kingdom of Castile, and then they united to form Spain. Aragon is that Catalonian enclave. And when Napoleon invaded in the 19th century, they were actually very pro-French. They were very pro the Republican movements in the French Revolution, whereas the rest of Spain was seen to be a conservative backlash. So Barcelona, Catalonia, these are socialist strongholds. So there's really no incentive for Sanchez to let them leave the country electorally. Yeah, but so now let's go back on what the right is thinking about this. Vox, which had hoped to force its way into power, as many other far-right parties in Europe have done, lost 19 seats from 4 years earlier. The Vox party went from 20% of the vote, now they're down to like 12% of the vote or something like that. They got crushed.
Why?
I think that, well, this is what here we go. You ready? It seems that the specter of far-right taking a seat in government, albeit as a junior member, for the first time since the 20th century dictatorship of Francisco Franco has proved to be the key to the left's resurgence. People got scared. People genuinely got scared. The Vox party was also flirting with giving the monarchy more power.
Wow.
The Vox party is, they're no joke. And I think people recognize, like, oh shit, we have to stop these guys. And the fact that the People's Party, the right-wing, center-right conservatives weren't saying that they weren't going to work with the Vox party actually scared a lot of people.
Interesting. Huh.
That
makes sense.
And there's a dynamic going on in Germany right now where the leader of the Christian Democratic Party, that was the party of Angela Merkel. People forget Angela Merkel in the United States. People forget. In Europe, they don't. But in the United States, Angela Merkel was the leader of the Conservative Party, right? So her successor now is flirting with the idea of siding with the Alternative for Deutschland in local elections to form majorities at local levels. The Alternative for Deutschland is the result of the Nazi Party, and the Christian Democrats are now saying that they would let them in government. And we've seen this dynamic in Sweden. The neo-Nazi party, the Swedish Democrats, literally formed by neo-Nazis. I'm not saying that as like, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. They were formed by neo-Nazis, is now in the Swedish government because of a coalition with the center-right parties.
Wow.
We're talking about the finance minister of Sweden being a member of a former neo-Nazi / current neo-Nazi party. Europe is having a moment here. And the United States is having the opposite, which I think is great. The United States is having an opposite moment.
Really?
Because we're beating the fascists here.
I mean, but the fascists are still in the minority in all of these European countries.
Yes, but they're not in as much power.
I suppose. I don't know. The fascists have a decent amount of power here.
No, I know. Especially on the local levels. I mean, but federally, the Democrats have the White House. The Democrats have the Senate.
Yes.
The Democrats look like they're going to retake the House. Like I don't see. It's not as bad right now. Currently, it could switch.
Okay, but the fascists aren't heads of state in any of these European countries, are they?
In Sweden, they are.
Oh, I thought you just said the finance minister.
Oh, yeah, but they're in the ruling coalition. So when you're in the ruling coalition, the prime minister might be the conservative, right-wing conservative, but then different cabinet positions are, you have to be a certain percentage, have to be Swedish Democrats.
Okay.
And the Swedish Democrats get concessions to power to make this guy prime minister.
Sure.
So at the moment, the United States' political palette is a little further left than a lot of the countries in Europe, and I'm happy that the Spanish at least delayed it, because maybe it comes around like 3 months from now, the Vox party gets like 20% of the vote. Who knows? But that was the Spanish election, very big deal. One of the most important elections of the year, easily, and there'll probably be a second one that we'll be talking about.
Exciting.